Hi guys, welcome to another video, and in this one we're going to look at simple and compound interest, functional skills level 2. As always, if you're part of my class you can find these in Google Classroom, or if you're not part of my class you can find these in the link below. Hopefully by the end of the lesson you will be able to calculate simple and compound interest. So simple interest, as the name suggests, is the more simpler one, and most likely you're not going to get simple interest for functional skills level 2. Usually it appears in functional skills level 1, most likely. So I will show you simple interest first though, just to see the difference between simple interest and compound interest. So simple interest is a fixed percentage of the original amount only, which is paid at regular intervals, usually 1 year. The amount of interest is the same every year, so the interest doesn't change. So that means it doesn't matter if it's for 1 year or for 3 years or for 5 years, that interest is going to be the same. So all you do is multiply the interest by however many years that they say. So for example, 1A, John invests £380 in an account which pays 5% simple interest per annum. How much interest will he earn in 4 years? So obviously you'll have to do the first year. Let's work out the how much he's going to earn in the first year. So let's work out 5% of £380. Yep, you can type that in your calculator. So 5% of £380. I can use the divide button here. You don't need to press the fraction button. So 5 divided by 100 times by 380. That gives us exactly £19. So that's for the first year. And because he earns this in per year, they're asking how much interest will he earn in 4 years. So in 4 years, if you just multiply that by 4, because it doesn't change, so 19 times by 4 gives you £76 for your answer, and that's how much interest he earns after 4 years. A slightly different question, 1B, John invests £380 in an account which pays 5% simple interest per annum. How much money did John have in his account at the end of 4 years? So a slight difference. In this one they're asking how much is in his account at the end of 4 years, whereas the previous one was asking for just the interest, which we worked out £76. So imagine that you had this 1B in the exam. You'd have to do the same as before. So you work out the first year, 5% of £380, which of course, same as above, £19, which we worked out. Obviously, you guys do that on the calculator if you get this in the exam. And then, same again with the 4 years. So for 4 years, that'll be 19 times by 4, which was £76. But obviously this is just the interest, isn't it? So in his account, assuming that he's not taken any money out or put any money in, then the total in his account will be the original, which was £380, plus the interest, which gives you £456 in total. So yeah, that's the only thing you just have to watch out for. Whether it's asking how much interest did he earn or how much is in his account, that's the only thing you just have to look out for. So if you guys want to try 1A and 1B yourself, give that a go, pause the video, and when you're ready, unpause it and we'll check the answers. Practice question 1A. Sarah puts £110 into a bank account that pays 5% simple interest each year. What will her bank balance be after 3 years if she doesn't pay in or take out any money? Okay, so let's do the first year. So you need 5% of, where is it, £110. Okay, so let's do that on the calculator. 5% of 110. That gives you 5.5 on the calculator. So obviously in pounds, that's going to be £5.50. So we have to put 0 in ourselves. So after 3 years, we'll have to do £5.50 times by 3, which gives me £16.50. Again, I had to put the 0 in myself. And let's just double check which one was asking for. This one is asking for her bank balance, so not the interest. So it's altogether the original amount, £110, plus the interest which we just worked out, which was the £16.50. So total is 110 plus 16.50. So let's add them two together, and you should get £126.50. Yep, for your answer. And then for 1B, Mario invests £2,000 for 4 years at 15% per annum simple interest. Calculate the value of the interest at the end of 4 years. So let's work out the first year. 15% of 2,000. So 15% of 2,000 gives me £300. Okay. So for 4 years, let's times that by 4, which gives me £1,200. And oh, just to double check, is that my final answer? And yes, it is. Yeah, it was to do with the interest, which we just worked out. Always double check though, because they could have very easily have said how much is in his account at the end of 4 years, which then obviously I would have to add the £2,000 to my answer. Yep. So something else that I thought I need to mention is, of course, if you do get this in functional skills level 1 or level 2, you could very well easily find these on the non-calculate paper as well. And of course, without your calculator, what I would do is, if let's say for example they're asking for 5%, I would work out 10% first, which is dead easy, just divide by 10, and then go from there. Use that as your building block, which we've done before. Yep. So hopefully you know how to do that. Let's move on to compound interest then, which is slightly more trickier. It's also called repeated percentage change as well, because obviously it changes every year or every month, whatever they're talking about. So the interest rate remains the same. The amount of interest changes every year. So you have to calculate the interest at the end of each year, and then you add the amount of interest to the balance from the previous year to get the balance for the current year, and you just keep doing that year upon year. So the amount of interest will change for each subsequent year. Yeah, so for example, 2A, a man invests £1,000 in a savings account which pays 8% compound interest per annum. And they will say which one it is, and obviously this one is compound interest. How much will there be after 2 years? Okay, so I'm going to show you guys the long way of doing these, and then I'm going to show you the quick way. And I'm sure you'll agree that the quick way will be the preferred choice going forward. But let me show you the long way first. It's very similar to the simple interest. Starts off the same. So you work out the first year, same as before, 8% of £1,000 in this case. Let's do that on the calculator. So 8 divided by 100 times by 1,000. That gives me exactly £80. So at the end of year 1, you've got £1,000 which he invested plus the £80 interest. So altogether you've got £1,080 in his account now at the end of year 1. Okay, and then you work out the second year. But obviously he's not got £1,000 in there now, he's got 1,080. So now you work out 8% of the new amount, 1,080. So 8% of 1,080 is, see, it's different now, isn't it? £86.40. So at the end of year 2, he's going to have 1,080 plus 86.40, which gives us our final answer, 1080 plus 86.40 in pounds, £1,166 and 40 pence. Yep. So at the end of 2 years, that's how much is going to be in his account. Obviously, assuming that he's not taking any money out, put any money in. You know, this is just to do with the initial amount, which was £1,000, and at the end of 2 years, with the interest altogether, you should have this final answer. So obviously, as you can see, that's actually quite long, especially if, you know, if they said 5 years or 6 years, you'll be there forever, you know, working out the first year, then the second year, the third year, and so on. So there is a quick way, which I will show you using a formula, and obviously they do accept it in the exams as well, and I'd recommend using the formula. But before I show you the formula, let's do one more example. If you guys want to try this yourself, pause the video, and when you're ready, unpause it and we'll check the answer. So practice question 2A says, Toby invested £4,500 for 3 years in a savings account. He paid 4% per annum compound interest. How much did Toby have in his savings account after 3 years? Okay, so let's work out the first year. 4% of 4,500. Okay, so we do that on the calculator. That gives me £180. Okay, so at the end of year 1, let's work that on the side here. 4,500 plus 180, which is 4,680. And now let's do the second year. 4% of the new amount, which is 4,680. 4% of 4,680. That gives me £187 and 20 pence. So 4,680 plus 187.2, which gives me, at the end of year 2, £4,867.20. Okay, and then for the third year, I have to do one more, don't I? Yeah, third year, 4% of the new amount, 4,867.2. So I'll have to do 4% of 4,867.2. Gives me, oh wow, okay, looks a bit unusual. Let's just go with it. 194.6. I'm gonna have to round it to. In fact, it looks like this on my calculator. If you round that to 1 decimal place here, sorry, not 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, because you've got a obviously this is to do with money. So to the nearest pence, that'll be 69. So let me just delete that and call it 69 pence here. Okay, let's add that to the amount in the bank currently. So 4867.2 plus 194.69 should give my final answer. Wow, okay, so I get £5,061.89 to the nearest pence. And there is your final answer. And see how long that is. Obviously, if you make a tiny little mistake anywhere here, you know, your final answer will be wrong. So it's very easy to get these wrong. So you just have to be careful. And this is another reason why I recommend doing it the quick way, not this way. This is the long way, definitely. So let me show you the formula then, where we've got a little space here to write. So let's call it the final value, let's say, equals, I'm going to call it a big A. So A stands for initial amount, let's call it. So basically the amount that you invest to begin with. Okay, and then you can open brackets, and I'll show you, there will be brackets on the calculator, and inside the brackets you always do 1, and it's either plus or minus depending on the question. Plus if it's increasing, like a bank account, which always goes up, or minus if the amount goes down each year, year upon year, which I'll show you in an example in a minute, like this one. Then you put a minus instead. Then you put your percentage out of 100, and again you can use the divide button here, which I'd recommend. Close your brackets to the power of n, and n is going to be the number of years, number of months, whatever they say in the question. Usually it's years. Okay, so for this one, yeah, you're going to have to use your power button, which, if you've got those fancy scientific ones, looks like that. Looks like X with a little box in the corner. Okay, so let's go back to one of the previous questions. You know, this one we had here, for example, example 2a, where we did it the long way. Let me show you if this actually works with the quick way. So let's write our formula down. A equals, oops, sorry. Let's write our formula down. So final value equals A brackets 1 plus or minus percentage out of 100, close brackets to the power n. So A is my initial amount. Initial amount was how much did he invest? That's £1,000. That goes there. Open brackets. Because this is to do with a bank account, this is definitely a 1 plus. What percentage did they say? 8%. So I'm going to put 8 divide by 100, like this. Close my brackets. And they wanted it for 2 years, so I'm going to do power 2 or squared. Yeah, so you can even use the squared button for this question. Let's type that in the calculator. So I'm going to type exactly how I've written it. And this is why I recommend using the scientific calculators for functional skills level 2. I mean, obviously, if you don't have your scientific calculators, instead of doing squared, you're going to have to completely repeat this brackets again. So it's you're typing it in again the long way, which I don't recommend. So yeah, I do recommend using the scientific calculators if you can, please. You should get, if you've done it right, obviously put your pound sign first, 1166.4, and obviously you have to put 0 yourself. And that's exactly what we got here when we did it the long way. So yeah, the formula does work. You should get the same answer, and we do. Let's try one with a minus in there instead of a plus. Here's an example. So example 3a. Susan has just bought a car for £6,500. If the car depreciates, let me just highlight that bit there, depreciates, by 9% each year, how much will it be in 3 years' time? So hopefully you understand what depreciates mean. It's basically, you know, like how you buy a brand new car and as soon as you take it out of the showroom, you know, the price is going to go down instead of going up. So obviously it's losing value year upon year. So that's an example of where you would use minus. So obviously in this case, our formula is final value equals a brackets 1 minus percentage out of 100 to the power n. So let's use the initial amount, £6,500, that's what it cost to begin with. Open brackets, 1 minus 9%, close my brackets, and to the power 3, or cubed. Let's type that in. So 6,500, open brackets, 1 minus 9% to the power 3. And you should get 4,898 point, let's call it 21 pence to the nearest pence. And there is your final answer. Yep, so as you can see, it's gone down. Definitely, it started off as 6,500, but after 3 years, it now costs this much, or this is how much it's worth after 3 years. Yep, there's an example of something that depreciates or goes down year upon year. So just to practice these type of questions with the formula, if you guys can pause the video, have a go of the following questions up to, let's just double check, up to 3F please. And when you're ready, just unpause the video and we'll check some answers. Let's go through the answers then. So for practice question 3A, Jerry's bank account pays 2.5% compound interest per annum. If his bank balance is £3,200 now, how much will his bank balance be after 8 years, assuming he does not pay in or take out any money? So let's use the formula for this one. Definitely £3,200 is your initial amount, or how much he invests to begin with. Open brackets, 1, and this is a plus because it's to do with a bank account. 2.5%, so I'm going to have to write 2.5% like this. Close my brackets, and for 8 years, wow, let's do power 8, no problem. So we're not doing it the long way, remember, otherwise I'll be there forever. Let's type that in, 3,200, open brackets, 1 plus 2.5% to the power 8 gives me, in pounds, 3,898 point. To the nearest pence, I would say 89 pence when you round it. Yep, that's your final answer. Hopefully you guys got the same. Practice question 3B. Tom invests £10,000 in a savings account which pays 4% compound interest per annum. How much money will there be in his account after 6 years? Okay, so 10,000. Open brackets. Definitely 1 plus because it's, again, to do with a bank account. 4%. Close my brackets. To the power 6. Let's type that in. 10,000. Just make sure you get correct number of zeros there. 1 plus 4% to the power 6 gives me, in pounds, 12653 and 19 pence to the nearest pence. And there's my final answer. Hopefully you guys got the same as well. Practice question 3C. Matt wants to invest £8,000 for 3 years. He can choose between Bank A and Bank B. So Bank A says it's 1.2% compound interest per annum. Bank B says 2% compound interest in the first year, and then 1% compound interest for each extra year. Oh, interesting. Okay, which bank will give Matt the most interest after 3 years? You must show you're working. Okay. So let's work out Bank A here separately first. Just put Bank A. So that's just 1.2% compound interest. The initial amount is £8,000. He's doing it for 3 years. So £8,000. Open brackets. Definitely a 1 plus because it's a bank account. 1.2%. And to the power 3. Let me type that in. So 8,000. 1 plus 1.2% to the power 3. That gives me £8,291, and let's call it 47 pence to the nearest pence. And then let's do Bank B here separately. Let me just recheck what it said. So 2% for the first year. Okay, so same amount again, 8,000. That's what he invests. 1 plus again. So for 2%, okay, I'm going to do 2 divided by 100. And you could put a little 1 there if you wanted to, because it's only for 1 year. Or you can leave it blank. It makes no difference. It's going to give you the same answer. So this is for the first year. Yep, so for the first year, I'll do it separately. There is a quicker way than this, but let me do it this way first, and I'll show you guys the really quick way. So 2% and close my brackets. That gives me, at the end of the first year, £8,160. And then for the second and third year, you're going to have to use your new amount, 8160, 1 plus again, and it's 1% now, so 1 divided by 100. And because you're combining the second and third year together, I'm going to do that to the power 2, because you're doing it for 2 years. Yeah, so altogether it will be 3 years altogether. So 8160, open brackets, 1 plus 1 divided by 100 to the power 2. That gives me, oh yeah, that's pretty good, £8,324 and 2 pence to the nearest pence. So yeah, they're pretty close in value. Obviously, for my answer, which bank will give Matt the most interest? Well, definitely Bank B. Yeah, because it's obviously it's more. Can you see if you compare these two answers together? So definitely put Bank B as your answer. You do have to show these two values, by the way. The quick way of doing Bank B, what you could have done is 8,000, the initial amount. In 1 brackets, you put 1 plus 2 divided by 100. And then at the same time, you could put the other brackets as well, which was 1 plus 1 divided by 100 to the power 2. Yep, and it should give you exactly the same answer in one step. So, oh, let me just fix that. Sorry, that should say 100. Yeah, so that's the really quick way of doing it in one step. Obviously, you should still get the same answer, and obviously we say Bank B, which is what he should go with. Well, let's have a look at the next one. Practice question 3D. Jade bought a house for £350,000. In the first year, the house price increased by 3%. Second year, the house price increased by 2%. And the third year, the house price depreciated by 5%. Work out the value of the house at the end of 3 years. So in fact, I'm going to do this the really quick way. Very similar to how I did the quick way here, where I just kept doing the brackets side by side. So you could do the initial amount, £350,000, open brackets. So for the first one, it's increasing, so it's a 1 plus 3%, and that's only for 1 year. So you can put a little 1 if you want to, you don't have to. And then for the next brackets, you do the second year, which was another increase, so that's 1 plus 2%, and again that's for another year. And then for the third brackets, that one is depreciate, so that's a 1 minus 5%, and again that's just for 1 year. You could do these separately if you want to. That's the long way again. So I'm going to do it the really quick way. 350,000 open brackets 1 plus 3%. Open brackets again 1 plus 2%. And in another brackets 1 minus 5%. And you should get, if you've done it right, the final answer in pounds, obviously, 34932.5 on the calculator, and obviously you're gonna have to put a 0 in yourself. So yeah, if you've done it correctly without any rounding, well, you might need to round sometimes, but obviously if you do it in one go, it'll just give you your answer, and it's you know, it doesn't round it in between. So this is the most accurate answer you're likely to get. If you do it the really long way, you know, it will be your answer might be slightly off. So I wouldn't recommend it doing it that way. This way is the best way. You know, doing it the really quick way. It will give you the most accurate answer, definitely. Yep. Hopefully you guys got the same. Practice question 3E. Greg bought a new car for £18,000. In the first year, the value of the car depreciates by 30%. Second year and the third year, the car depreciates by 14%. Work out the value of the car after 3 years. Ooh. So again, I'm going to do it the really quick way. So 18,000, that's the initial amount. Open brackets. So in the first year, the car depreciates. So that's a 1 minus 30%. 30 out of 100. Close my brackets, and that's just for 1 year. And in the second and third year, the car depreciates, so let's do another brackets together. So it's another 1 minus because it depreciates 14%. Close my brackets. And because I'm combining the second and third year together here for this brackets, I'll put a little 2 there because it's for 2 years for that one. Altogether 3 years, obviously. Let's work that out on the calculator. 18,000 open brackets 1 minus 30%, open another brackets 1 minus 14% to the power 2, and that gives me £9,318 and 96 pence exactly, if you've done it right. Yep, so hopefully you did it this way, and you should get this answer. Practice question 3F. Melvin invests £5,000 in an account paying 2.5% compound interest per annum. Charlie invests £4,500 in an account paying 3% compound interest per annum. Work out the difference between the amount of money Melvin has after 5 years and the amount Charlie has after 5 years. So let's work out Melvin first here. So 5,000 open brackets, because it's a bank account and it's an investment, it's definitely a 1 plus 2.5%. How many years? They're doing it for 5 years, so to the power of 5. So let's type that in. 5,000. 1 plus 2.5% to the power 5, which gives you £5,657 and 4 pence. Okay, let's work out Charlie here on this side. So Charlie invests 4,500. Again, it's going to be 1 plus because it's to do with bank account and it's an investment. 3% this time for Charlie. So 3%. Again for 5 years. Let's work that out here. 4,500. 1 plus 3% to the power 5. That gives me £5,216 and 73 pence to the nearest pence. So they want the difference. Let me just highlight that bit there between the amount. So obviously difference means you take away these two values. So the difference is 5,657. The bigger one, take away the smaller one, which is that one, obviously, which gives me, let's type that in, 5657.04, take away 5216.73, should give me exactly £440 and 31 pence for my final answer. Yep, and in fact, let's put that on the dotted line. There you go. Yep, 4 marks for that. Obviously, if you did it the long way, you'd be there forever. Look how fast that was, you know, doing it the quick way. Yep, so hopefully you guys are getting used to the formula. Let's move on to the exam style questions. So these are taken from real past papers for Functional Skills Level 2. So if you guys want to try these yourself, give them a go. Pause the video, and when you're ready, unpause it and we'll check some answers. So for the first one, this is taken from a calculator paper, so obviously we can use our calculator for this one. It says, Gabby invests £4,000 for 3 years. The investment earns 2% compound interest per annum. Work out the value of the investment at the end of 3 years. So I'm going to use the formula, definitely. And, you know, you could do it the long way if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. You know, you still get the same amount of marks. Obviously, using the formula is much, much quicker, save you so much time in the exam. So the initial amount, £4,000, open brackets, it's definitely a 1 plus because it's an investment and it's going up. 2%, so 2 divided by 100, close my brackets, to the power 3. And let's type that in because it's on the calculator paper. 1 plus 2% to the power 3. That gives me final answer of £4,244 and 83 pence to the nearest pence. That's my answer. Yep, and you can put that answer in the answer box as well here. 4244.83. Yep, obviously this was a part B to a question. I didn't put part A, so this one is just worth 3 marks, so ignore this, what it says at the bottom here. Yep, hopefully you got the same answer. Let's have a look at the next one. Calculator exam question 2 says, Jess invests £3,800 into a savings account for 3 years. She will not put any extra money into the account. She will not take any money out of the account. The The investment will earn 2.4% compound interest per year. Work out the total amount of interest earned after 3 years. Oh, interesting. So this one's slightly different. This one's asking for just the interest. Notice, in the previous examples, or the previous practice questions, they ask for how much is in the account at the end of 3 years or 4 years or whatever. This one is asking for just the interest. So it starts off the same. I will still use the formula, same as before. So she invests £3,800. Open brackets. Because it's an investment to do with a bank account, definitely 1 plus. And it's 2.4%. Close my brackets. And it's for 3 years. Okay, so it starts off the same as before. Because it's on the calculator paper, I'm going to use my calculator. 3,800. Open brackets, 1 plus 2.4%. Close my brackets, to the power 3. That gives me £4,080 and 22 pence to the nearest pence. Yep. If you've rounded it correctly, that's what you should get. But obviously this is not your final answer. Just be careful. Don't be tempted to put this as your final answer, because they're working out, because they're asking for the interest. We've got here, our answer is the amount in the account at the end of 3 years. So we're going to have to remove or take away, the initial amount, which will leave us with just the interest. So I'm going to have to do 4,080.22. Take away the initial amount, which was £3,800. So hopefully you noticed that in the question when you were doing it before. Leaves you with just the interest, which is just £280 and 22 pence for your final answer. Yeah. So if you got to this step here, you'll probably get 3 marks out of 4, which is still pretty good, but obviously it's not the final answer. You would need to carry on. Just always recheck which one is it asking for. Is it for the amount in the account, which was the £4,080 and 22 pence, or is it the interest? And in this case, obviously, it's just to do with the interest, which is obviously the £280 and 22 pence. So yeah, again, you just have to watch out for that. So that was the last question. I hope you found that useful, and if you did, don't forget to press the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I do appreciate your support, and hopefully I'll continue to make more videos as well. So yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you guys, and I shall see you in the next video.